Hello, hello. This is Yuriy Margolin with Moving Sales Professionals and Let's Talk Moving podcast. And with me today, I have Tonya Green, a regional sales manager for Nashville, state of Alabama, Florida Panhandle, and the city of New Orleans for Coleman Worldwide Moving. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Today is another beautiful day in paradise. Little sunshine in Maryland here. But once
Yep.
again, thank you very much for joining us. And
hmm
Tonya, so you've been in industry for a while, and how did you get started?
I got started in the moving industry when I joined the Air Force. Um, so I went in open admin, and basically that just means that you have no idea what your job is going to be. They'll let you know when it gets to that point. And I was put in, my first base was at Elmendorf in Anchorage, Alaska, and I was put into TMO, the third Logistics Readiness Squadron. And so that's kind of, it is how I got my start in the industry. So I worked 2 years in freight in the Air Force. In my last 2 years that I was in, I worked in household goods.
Okay, awesome. And once again, thank you for your service. We really appreciate that, of
Mhm.
course. Okay, great. So starting in the Air Force, okay, and what brought you to Coleman?
Well, I was in Anchorage. I got out of the Air Force after my 4 years, and I started working for an agent in Anchorage. I stayed there for about a year, but I'm from the South, and so you can imagine like Anchorage, the snow, the weather, it's completely different.
Sure.
And so I started like getting a little homesick, and I went online and started looking for jobs, and I found a consultant position in Huntsville, Alabama. And so I applied for the position, I got it, and I relocated back to Huntsville, Alabama, which is about an hour north from where I'm originally from. So that's how I got started with Coleman. And since I've been with them in this position, I've worked with them as a consultant in Huntsville, Fort Walton Beach, all along the Panhandle, Pensacola, Mobile, Alabama, and I'm currently in Panama City. But I worked as a consultant for them from 2006, I want to say, is when I started. And then all the way up until 2018 is when I became a regional sales manager for the company and started working over the regions that you had mentioned a while ago. So
That's awesome. Of course, in the South, you don't have to use Huskies to deliver goods, so that's great. But that would be more of an Anchorage and Alaska in general, especially wintertime, right? So it's
mm-hmm.
quite beautiful this time of year, I hear. I haven't been, but
Oh, yeah.
one day, one day. Okay, so what do you feel are your biggest challenges in the industry?
Um,
And now for a quick message from our sponsors. For a limited time only, we have partnered with an SEO and marketing company with discounted rates for their services. Schedule an appointment via Calendar link below to learn more. Thank you. And now getting back to the podcast.
biggest challenges as a sales manager,
Mhm.
the biggest challenges would be, you just have to stay motivated and stay on top of everything with your team, communicate with them consistently, work with them through their triumphs and, the times when they lose the moves, just keep them well rounded and just going at it, 90 to nothing, just keeping their momentum. So, I mean, it's always a challenge, but it's a fun challenge. I enjoy working with them and watching them, just seeing them the times that they're, when they succeed and being able to feel that, success with them and to cheer them on. So the challenges, I guess, to circle back would be the times when it's tough, when it's peak season and we're fighting with capacity, or, when we're coming out of peak season and it starts to be more competitive price-wise. And so you always just have to constantly be hands-on with them to give them guidance if they're not able to close a move, look at their estimates with them, find out what we can do, to earn the customer's business. So it's just constant. Those are challenges, just rolling along with the different seasons that we have throughout the industry.
Yeah, so you're not kindred souls in that regard. With me running a call center, basically the same thing. I have to focus on motivation, peak season versus things slowing down like they are right now, obviously. And I mean, you obviously Coleman, you guys are a much bigger company than a lot of the clients that I have. They're a little smaller. But you guys having, I'm assuming, the same challenges that we are having with the smaller movers is that there's just not as much inventory, frankly, not as many people are moving, things are slowing down, the housing market is definitely affecting things. Would you say that that's the same things that our guys are feeling, especially being bigger and seeing it more across a much wider base, whether it's your specific region or otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. We notice when we have changes in the market like that with the housing market, the economy, elections, everything, that we do, that we go through like that, it impacts us. And so we just have to stay on our toes and be constant with what we're doing, be consistent so that we're able to handle those. And I guess over the years, it kind of every year, kind of the same routine. We're going to have the ups and downs, but you just have to stay consistent, with your team to help them overcome the challenges that we face throughout the year.
Would you say it's different this year than the years past? I mean, what's your feeling overall? And now for a quick message from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com to learn more.
Overall, I would say there's always a little bit, there's going to be differences every year, but it's not really anything that, we haven't done before that we haven't faced. I mean, we run into challenges periodically without it being just like this year, for example, like it's the housing market. So the housing market's been slow before, but it's going to come back, we just have to learn how to adjust and to adapt, like with our pricing, what we're presenting to the customers. We've got to know when we need to come in, when we can come in more aggressive, and when we need to back off a little with our pricing.
Okay. Can you give me an example of a specific situation that you feel was, would be a good example of how you would handle something like that, especially with the current everything going on? Obviously, everybody's worried about it. Everybody's worried what the off season is going to look like. I mean, it's been for some people more, for some people less, but overall it's been a mild summer. It wasn't like hopping like we're used to, that's for sure.
So as a sales manager, when we have, to give you an example, I mean, let's just say that we have a consultant go out into the field, they go out and they present the price to the customer, and I'm not sure if this is where you're going, and if it's not, you can lead me back in a different direction. But if they go out into the field and they have pricing objections with someone, and we have a competitor who's come in less, what I'm going to, of course, encourage them to do is have the consultants let the customer know that we're willing to be competitive. We would like to compare apples to apples, and if they're more comfortable using us than they are one of our competitors, give us the opportunity to price match. We want to go over every aspect of the estimate with them and explain in detail what that entails, what they need, what are their needs versus what our recommendations are, and how can we meet them in the middle. If we have quoted them with a full pack, if that's what they originally wanted, then we're going to go back in if they have objections on pricing, and we're going to talk to that customer about the best ways that they can perform their own packing and how they can PBO, pack their own boxes, and we're going to give them the guidance on what our expectations would be in the drivers if they do show up at residence and those boxes are packed by the owner. So it's a case by case basis every day, in the field with the consultants, with what they're seeing out there and what they bring back to me. But I just encourage all of my consultants, anytime that they have obstacles like that in the field, just to get with me immediately. And let's look at it together to see what we can do to earn the business.
Right. And of course, as always, the communication is the key. And I always say that as well. So Yeah, I mean, it is case by case scenario. At the end of the day, especially now, all people that we're faced with that are looking for a move, they all have same issues, whether it's financial concern or otherwise. So you have to find basically the match point where the price and the level of service and things like that are matching what they're looking for versus what they're getting versus the competitive quotes and things like that. You got to, I always try to teach my sales reps to get the quote from the other company in writing so you
Yep.
can really dig into the language, because that's where the meat is. Because sometimes they talk, oh, I got
Exactly.
this price, but this price doesn't include this and this. But if you don't read the language, you won't know that. It's like
Yes, absolutely.
you got to be a
You have to,
contractual
because
lawyer to a degree when you're looking into that
yes,
without having a law degree.
yes. Yes, you have to be able to get that estimate from the customer if we can. Sometimes customers don't feel comfortable doing that, and we understand. But if we can get it from them, a lot of times we're able to point out and say, well, hey, we had quoted you with a full coverage, zero deductible. You've got basic liability from this guy. So we'll be more than happy to move you to basic liability, but here are the repercussions if you decide
Right,
to
the
go with that.
cons and pros.
What's going to happen. So we quoted you with a full coverage, zero deductible, because we're trying to take care of you and make sure that should you have any damages, that you're going to be able to get things replaced. So we're going to look for anything that we can on our competitor's estimate. Maybe that competitor gave a non-binding quote, but the language, like you just said, is hard sometimes for a consumer to understand. And so once you get someone with experience and we're able to look at what that competitor has provided to them, if it's non-binding and we've offered a guarantee with a rate reduction, well, obviously that's a plus or a bonus for us. So we're going to make sure that we point out those key elements on the estimate to our customers.
Yeah, one of the things that I always find, I always use all the time, it's always packing always comes up, and it's always funny how there's plenty companies out there that play around with language and use the language. Packing services are included, but not all packing services are created equal, because in one case, packing services is included means the packing service is included, but the materials are not. So that's
Right.
one of the things that especially when packing is what they want, that's one thing that I focus on firsthand when I see that, because the right language is packing services and packing materials are included, because that's what they're looking for.
Yes, and another key thing on our competitive, estimates is a lot of times you'll get an estimate back from a customer, from a competitor, and maybe we have quoted them with third party for glass tabletops or their, front load washer, and we'll see that it's not on the other person's quote or competitor's quote. So, I mean, there's so many things, and it's like I said earlier, case by case basis. You just never know what you're going to get when you get that back. So.
Absolutely. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure you get things in writing so you can take a look at stuff like that. So thank you for chiming in on that. I appreciate that. Now, I always have to ask this. So as a woman in the moving industry, what would be some of the difficulties that you face or you have faced as you were making your way to the current juncture?
So I've been in the industry now for 20 plus years. So I guess especially when you're starting out, you don't have experience. Sometimes in a male-dominated industry, it seems like you have to work harder to prove yourself and to learn the language and to learn the job and to, validate, I guess, self-validate, where you're at. But, over time, with the time and experience, I'm proud to be a woman. Working in this industry, it is a male-dominated industry, but now when I walk in the room, I don't worry about, oh my goodness, I'm maybe one of X amount of women in here, and there's 3 times as many men. I just walk in the room with my head and my shoulders up, just like everybody else at this point, because you have to be confident in what you're doing. And once you can reach to that level of confidence in your job, and people know that you care about what you do, you're passionate, you care about your people, then you're going to be respected regardless if you're a woman in a male-dominated industry, or vice versa if the roles were reversed. So
I agree. I think in general, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Respect needs to be earned by your actions, by your treatment of other people, by professionalism. I think that that's important no matter who you are. men or
Yeah.
women. Now, what your advice would be for women that are looking into getting into the industry? With that I'm assuming, I mean, it would be along the same lines, right? But
Mhm.
maybe something
Oh
different.
yeah. I mean, you just have to roll up your sleeves. You got to get in there with the guys. Don't look at it like, well, you kind of just like what I said. If you're a woman and it's a male-dominated industry and you were interested in getting in there, you're just going to have to jump in, roll up your sleeves, and you're going to have to work along with everybody else. I say like as a team. You have to look at it as like a team, and you want to learn and grow it. So it's really up to that individual and how bad they want it and how hard they work and the passion that they put in. I mean, if you're going to do it, you just have to do it. I'm just one of those kind of people. You just have to do it if you're going to do it. And so I would just say, if you're going to do it, just roll up your sleeves and jump in. Jump in and do the hard work. Gain the respect. Let people know how passionate you are, and that you care about what you do. And I mean, once you have all of those things, everything else is going to fall in place. Continue to educate yourself. That's one thing. Even, to sit back as a sales manager now, and I work of a team of like 14 consultants that I have right now. And I really knew a lot when I started this job, but to stand on the backside and to be able to work with such a large, diverse group, over the areas that I do, I have learned so much more as a sales manager to be, working with all of these different personalities and the different markets and the different things that they face. And you can never think that you know it all, because, and as you work in this industry, there's things that come across, your desk, and it could be something that even if you have 20 years experience, you've never seen or heard before. You've never been asked that. And so it's just always something new. And that's part of what makes this industry fun. It's a very fun industry because it's constantly changing. It keeps you on your toes.
Absolutely.
It's something different every day. So you either love it or you hate it, and it grows on you. And I'm one of those people that it's kind of just stuck on me. So
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, I used to say for the longest time until I opened this place, I used to say for the longest time that I hate sales, but I'm very good at it. At this
yeah,
point,
yeah,
if you asked me about that, 10 years ago, that's what I would have said. But to this day, I
it is
mean, I
so
love
much
what I do.
fun.
I love the sales. I
Yeah,
love the industry. And I'm certainly, especially with doing this podcast, honestly, I've learned that I know a lot more about the industry than I thought I would, because the conversations that I
mm-hmm.
have, I feel that no matter if I'm talking to an owner or a CEO that's been in the moving industry, big company, been doing it for 40 years, or if somebody that's just got in, I feel like I'm on the same level. I have the information, but of course, I 100% agree with you. You need to roll up your sleeve. You need to be. I mean, this industry is very, very blue collar in the sense that you need
Mm-hmm.
to be able to work, and that's how
Yes,
you prove yourself. Man, woman, child, but hopefully not child. But in
yeah,
general, you want to be ready to do the work, and that's how you gain the trust of people that are around you. That's how you gain the respect of other industry professionals in terms of being able to roll up your sleeve and go to work. It's important,
yeah,
and it is fun. There's definitely I like the fact that you have to be a multitasker 100%. You need to be able to,
yes,
like, it definitely does keep you on your toes, and you need to be able to shift gears sometimes at the second notice. And it is rewarding because it's fun when you're faced with a very difficult move sometimes, and you have to change things quickly to make things work and adjust. So I think
yes.
that's very important.
Yes, you nail on the head. As a sales manager, when I'm have someone that I'm interviewing, I always tell them part of this job, being a consultant, is something that makes you really good that you have to have is that ability to multitask, because you're going to have new leads coming in, appointments scheduled. You've got to confirm the appointments. You've got to be following up with your old leads. You're going to be in the checkout line of the grocery store, and you've got a customer, you see the customer's calling you on the phone, and you need to take that call. So, I mean, it's just constant.
Yep.
But that's part of what makes it fun. And like you said, with this being blue collar, definitely is, you really just have to be tough, this working out in this industry, in this field. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, thank you very much for joining us. This has been fun, and hopefully we'll connect at some point again. And once
Mhm.
again, Tonya, thank you so much. And as I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you for joining Let's Talk Moving podcast, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.